seed for many such discussions to follow. And because I myself have been working on some of these issues, I would just highlight those because they connect with what has been presented here. And in this context, then we can have follow-up discussions as well. First of all, coming from economics background, one of the limitations that I see is that when we teach economics, when we deal with economics, we talk about market valuation, we talk about pricing, we talk about allocation, but we don't actually teach about value chain, value creation, and how the value is created, how it is ultimately gets distributed, how it is structured so that distribution is embedded into the production itself. Often that discussion is missing, and I hope that we can have some further discussion in that context. The second thing is this innovation. This is, we all agree innovation is important, but I think that correctly it has been pointed out that we often limit innovation to technology and processes and so on. But in particularly two areas, innovations are fundamentally important, and those would be ideas and institutions. For example, it is from the ideas innovation that JIT, just in time, or continuous quality improvement, these are actually innovation in ideas. And then there are many other areas where institution, indeed the idea of corporation is actually an organizational innovation. So we also need to keep our minds open that we do not limit this topic only for technology or process related things, but there is much more fundamental that relates to ideas and institutions. Third thing I want to talk about is that the things that are mentioned here, that is ideas that shape business, society, and economy. But before I make my comment, is there anyone here from other than the School of Business and Economics? I'm talking about within UIU. Anybody? Huh? Okay, can you raise your hand if you are not from School of Business and Economics? Okay, two. The reason I emphasize it is because maybe we need to further think about what we have presented here, because this value creation is not only about business. It's not about economics. It is not about management or other things. Value creation process for the entire society, for the entire economy, is health, education, technology, engineering, science. Actually, we together create that value. But maybe it should be ideas that shape business, society, and life, or something like that, that actually brings together that it is not just our discussion, it is actually more inclusive discussion at the university. And it is in that context, I myself come from interdisciplinary background, because although my anchor is in economics, but from my educational career and then academic career, actually I have always been more interdisciplinary. I think we have a lot more to explore what we can gain from interdisciplinary approach and capacity building. Indeed, there could be a center for interdisciplinary learning or interdisciplinary research. I was at University of California, Berkeley for 1 year postdoc. I was placed at a center for that is dealing with interdisciplinary focus on energy, just energy. But energy brings together from all fields. So maybe we have some opportunity to contribute in that regard. The next thing briefly, as Dr. Iftikhar was pointing out, systems thinking or system-oriented thinking is fundamentally important. And as close an example, that see the July 24 or the 2024, it was actually for a system change, but we only partially accomplished it and we could not go too far. The reason is that most of us don't understand systems. Systems have certain properties. It is also designed to produce certain kind of result, and it also has resilience. It won't change so easily, depending on how deeply, how strongly the system has been designed. But if we don't think about change of system, then most of things are fragmented. You do something here, something there, you might have fragmented outcome, partial outcome, all those might be good, but it does not produce the kind of outcome that we see at a broader level. And this deals with the topic we're talking about. If we want to seek change, we need to understand the system. Otherwise, we might get some change, but we ourselves would not be happy at the end that this is not what we wanted or not the kind of things we wanted. The last two things that I want to point out is that as an economist, one of the things that I feel is that when we teach factors of production, 4 factors of production is kind of canonical in economics. But I have always felt uncomfortable considering human beings simply as one of the factors of production. And it is also competing with other factors of production, and often the most disposable one, easily disposable one. I think that's another context where we should have further discussion about human-centered economy or human-centered development. And I think some of the things that were mentioned here could be a foundation for that further discussion. And last thing about public-private collaboration. Rightly, it has been pointed out that saying it is easy, doing it is difficult because their motivation is different, their incentives are different. And sometimes the systems is designed such a way that they are not supposed to produce harmonious result. But when we understand the value creation is a teamwork, and that team includes public and private, and when we understand that we all have a role to play to achieve that goal, then it might be possible. But that brings me to the very last thing, that requires good governance. If we don't have good governance, none of these things, whether public or private ownership, none of things related to this value creation or value chain, because our farmers who cannot capture the value that they produce is also related to the good governance issue. And by the way, I have been talking about recently, I think on 19th June, one of the articles was published in TBS, the Business Standard, the triple deficit. And the last deficit I talk about is called egg deficit, the deficit of ethics and good governance. This is our real deficit. We change that, inshallah, many of these things are possible. And I'm so glad that UIU is becoming much more vibrant, much more meaningful in terms of this discourse. And inshallah, I look forward to be part of it along with you.